A trust is an arrangement whereby one party holds and manages property for the benefit of another person. Those words, when uttered at the end of your lawsuit, can inspire you to feel a sense of elation. Hey, I got a trust fund. I'm one of the elite. On the other hand, having gone through 4 or 5 years of litigation, it might set off panic. Somebody else is trying to control my money after I felt out of control for 4 or 5 years. My name is John Darrer, and today on Talking Settlement, we're going to break down what trusts are, how they work, and some things that you should know so you can go forward with confidence if a trust is appropriate for you. So a trustee, which can be an individual or entity, is the individual or entity which is in charge of managing your trust in accordance with the terms of the trust document, a document that you will have signed or will sign when the trust is created. Recently, I had the opportunity to catch up with James Creel, a trust consultant with Capital First Trust Company, a trust company that specializes in working with injury victims. So James, tell us about the role of a trustee.
The role of a trustee is to serve in a fiduciary capacity for their trust beneficiaries, managing their money, administering the trust, and administering the trust they're paying bills, purchasing equipment, houses, furniture, that kind of thing. And it's sort of a dual responsibility of managing the money in a way that is appropriate from them so that they don't outlive their funds, but also at the same time advising them on how to spend the money appropriately so that they don't wastefully dissipate their funds.
Is there a difference between a fiduciary standard and some other type of best interest standard?
In the financial services industry, a fiduciary standard is considered the highest standard of responsibility to the client of any standard in the industry. A fiduciary standard is a legal standard that binds us as trustee to do what is in the best interest of the trust beneficiary.
Are there any special considerations when working with personal injury victims?
Every personal injury victim has unique needs, and as trustee, it's really important that you understand what the injury is, whether it's a physical injury or a traumatic brain injury, and how that injury impacts their lives and the different kinds of things, equipment, therapies that they're going to need to return to a normal life or as normal life as possible.
Why would someone choose to use a corporate trustee versus an individual trustee?
Most people choose a corporate trustee because the corporation or the corporate trustee will take care of a lot of the needs of the trust beneficiary that the family or parent can't take care of. Management, trust administration, doing annual accountings to the court. Also, a corporate trustee has a team of professionals who are experienced in handling the needs of personal injury victims so that if one is on vacation, there are people there to take their place. There are plenty of experts in a corporate trustee to manage the trust, administer the trust, and take care of the trust beneficiary.
What are some of the challenges for an individual acting as trustee?
A lot of times for an individual trustee, the challenge becomes sort of the time commitment, not that they don't want to commit all that time, and the emotional burden of the care. Not only does a parent have to care for the health of their child, but now they also have to worry about managing the money, they have to worry about trust expenditures, they have to worry about accountings with the court, annual reportings, that kind of thing. And a lot of times that can just become overwhelming to a parent. Caring for your child is hard enough. A lot of times they choose the corporate trustee because the corporate trustee can relieve that burden, that fiduciary burden off of them so that now they can focus on loving and caring for their child.
Do you find that you have people who start out as being individual trustees and then get fatigued doing that work?
Yeah, we do find a lot of people over time get worn out by serving as individual trustees. Some of it can be an age things. Some of it can just be that their life changes. There's another injury in the family, or a parent goes into an elder care facility. There's a weight to being trustee as an individual that most people have never encountered. So a lot of people at first are reluctant to give up that responsibility, but over time what they learn is a corporate trustee can do it every bit as well, and that frees them up to do other things that are every bit as much important in caring for a family member or a child.
So in essence, there's a level of experience and economies of scale.
Oh, absolutely. A corporate trustee definitely has experience. They manage hundreds, if not thousands, of trusts, and they have resources at they have resources that are available to them that an individual does not have. They have industry trade associations. They have legal attorneys on staff that can advise them if some complex situation comes up. At my company, we find our corporate attorneys invaluable. If there's ever a question, we have legal expertise right in the office at a moment's notice.
What about the types of trusts? Let's go through some of the types of trusts that are out there. What would you say is the predominant type of trust that you find in settlement situations?
There are primarily in a personal injury settlement. There are two types of trusts that we see most often. One we call a settlement preservation trust, which is a type of irrevocable trust. The second is a special needs trust, which is a more complicated type of trust. But it's a trust that is designed to help clients meet their needs and at the same time protect their government benefits of Medicaid and SSI.
So let's go back to that question about individual versus corporate trustee. What are some of the special burdens that you have as a trustee when you're dealing with a special needs trust? Very good question. In a special needs trust, there are guidelines put out in each state. There are qualification guidelines. That's qualifications for Medicaid?
Qualifications for Medicaid, yes. And it is our responsibility as corporate trustee to know the qualifications in each state and how they vary in each state. There are types of things a special needs trust can purchase and things that they cannot purchase. And the rules change a little every year. Sometimes the rules change significantly, and it is our job as a corporate trustee to keep up with the law, keep up with the changes in the law, and make certain that we're administering the trustee in a correct fashion within the measure of the law.
So what you're saying is that an individual is probably not going to have those resources immediately at their disposal, and that adds to the sort of transition fatigue that they would encounter in trying to manage it themselves. Especially in the upfront part of a trust, there's a tremendous amount of research that an individual trustee has to do to understand what Medicaid is, what SSI is, how the two impact each other, what you can spend inside a special needs trust that will or will not impact SSI. There's a lot of work goes into keeping up with the regulations. We get a memo every year that says, here are the changes. I don't know who provides that for an individual trustee. So they would actually have to go out and seek those resources, which adds an additional time burden, and they don't have the economies of scale. Yeah, they'd have to do all the research themselves, and they have to know where to look. Certainly there are support foundations like a Traumatic Brain Injury Association or a Spinal Cord Injury Association that can help, but they aren't necessarily up to speed on the law changes unless they have a staff of attorneys. We're very lucky as a corporate trustee to have the internal resources to know the law, to know the changes in the law, and implement the changes very quickly and efficiently. Great, thank you. Can you tell me a little bit more about settlement preservation trusts? Settlement preservation trust is the most prominent one we see. And it's one of the most creative and flexible trusts that you can use for a personal injury victim. There are no government benefits to be concerned about. What it allows us to do is work with a settlement planner and the personal injury victim on what their needs are, what their hopes and dreams are, and what their fears are, to put together a plan that will meet their needs now and down the road,
and we can make certain that we get all of those needs listed in a trust document so that the trust beneficiary and the family understands that it's our responsibility to pay for those things, and they don't have to worry about saying, well, if this comes up, how am I going to get at my money? We can do a lot of creative, flexible things, settlement preservation trusts that simply can't be done in other types of trusts.
Can you tell us a little bit about asset protection trusts?
An asset protection trust is a very unique type of trust. It's designed to help an individual set money aside for specific reasons to protect those assets, primarily from future litigation, to protect from bankruptcy, creditors, collections, can protect from divorce if we've had the money for 10 years or more. It can be a great tool to help people preserve money and protect money from future litigation.
James, what, for our listeners and viewers, what should someone look for in a corporate trustee?
In a personal injury situation, I think it's really important to understand, does the corporate trustee have experience dealing with personal injury victims? Are they primarily wealth managers and maybe have one or two trusts that are for personal injury victims? Or are they a company that specializes in personal injury victims? My company was founded specifically to manage trusts for personal injury victims. So it's what we do. It's pretty much all we do. And because of that, we're just sort of different at the core of our being than a lot of other trust companies.
Good. So have you seen situations with other trust companies who've sort of dabbled into it and then have kind of retreated, like they've kind of bitten off more than they can chew? Is that something that happens in the trust world?
Yes, a good bit of the new business that we get is what is called successor trustee business, and that's an existing trustee that was a wealth management trustee that finds that these trusts are just sort of too much, there's too much maintenance in the day-to-day work of holding a client's hand, reassuring them, helping them meet their needs than there is in a wealth management trust. And for a lot of trustees, they just find this is not what they thought it was when they were getting into it. So a lot of times we will take over as trustee.
Okay. Capital First Trust Company, formerly First Capital Surety and Trust, has been in business since the 80s?
We have our roots in trust administration in 1984. We became what I call a full-fledged trust company in 1999. And again, we were specifically created to manage trusts for personal injury victims. We have over 1,300 trusts that we manage for personal injury victims.
And you do cases in Connecticut, New York, pretty much all over the country?
Very good question. We do cases all over the country. We have a lot in the Northeast, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey. We have a really good connection with settlement planners in New York and Connecticut. We also do business as far south as Miami, as far west as Los Angeles and Seattle.
James, when it comes to some of the special services that you provide, Capital First is a South Dakota chartered trust company and administrative officer in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Given that you are successful doing work in the New York metropolitan area and in other places around the country, how do you deal with clients that are in Los Angeles or New York? How do you overcome a person's objections that, hey, wow, you know, they're in 2-3 states over?
Yeah. We chartered in the state of South Dakota because it provides special protections for consumers that other states just don't have, special asset protections. We feel in a personal injury case that's very important. We don't have offices everywhere like some of the major trust companies do, and what we do to make up for that is we have a very big use of technology. We allow video conferencing with clients. We have a mobile app on a phone where you can look up your account balance every day or every week. We provide on-site visits, which most trust companies don't do. It's one of my responsibilities is if you need to meet with your trustee and we're not local, I will come to your home. And most of the parents I talk to, we agree up front that because they work, I'll come to their home at night or weekends, or we can meet at their attorney's office, whatever. We try to utilize technology, but we also want to use the personal touch. We're one of the few trust companies that doesn't have a phone tree. You know, when you call a trust company, you get dial 1 for this, dial 2 for that. When you call us, a live person is supposed to answer the phone 100% of the time. Then you have a trust officer you are assigned to that handles your case, and you have a backup trust officer that's familiar with your case in case that person is out sick or is on vacation or something like that. So we've tried to provide a lot of personal touch as well as technology.
The United States being the melting pot that it is, we have people of hundreds of different nationalities, different languages. How does Capital First address those needs? If you have, for example, Hispanic claimant, do you have resources for people who speak different languages?
Yeah, we do a lot of trust for the Latino population, and because of that we have 4 trust officers that are fluent in Spanish. 3, Spanish is their first language, and for a 4th, they actually lived in South America, and actually he is a minister at a Spanish-speaking church, so he preaches in Spanish on Sundays. So we have a lot of people that, whether you speak English or not, we have 4 really good trust officers that can communicate with you. We have some trust in China. And in those cases, we hire an interpreter whenever we need to talk to the customer so that we can make certain we're communicating with that customer in a language that they understand.
Well, James, thank you very much for your insight, and we appreciate you being on the show.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
So a trust is a very useful settlement tool as part of an overall settlement plan. Obviously, there's a lot more to trust than we could possibly do justice in this short video. If you'd like some more information, feel free to contact me, John Derer, at toll-free 888-325-8640. There's also a lot of information on settlement trusts, settlement preservation trusts, special needs trusts on our website at www.forstructures.com. Thank you for watching. John Derer, have a great day.